The voice of the UK.
This is 5 Live.
You're live on Radio 5 Live.
A huge goal.
Hey, listen.
Listen live on digital, online, smart speaker, or the BBC Sounds app.
Morning, it's Johnny back again in Forgotten for the last show today, for the last 20 or so minutes before we hand over to 5 Live. Wake up to money. And of course, we have lots to talk about still between now and then, including the latest on COVID and those restrictions that have been brought in the wake of that new variant from Southern Africa. But first, let's talk cricket. Former Australia Test captain Tim Paine is likely to miss the upcoming Ashes series against England after announcing he's going to take an immediate break from all forms of cricket. The wicketkeeper stepped down as skipper last week over a historical investigation into sexually explicit texts which he'd sent to a female colleague in 2017. Fast bowler Pat Cummins has been named as the side's new captain, with Steve Smith to be his deputy. Payne's manager, James Henderson, wrote on Twitter that the player was taking an indefinite mental health break and expressed concern for his wife's, Bonnie, well-being. Well, let's speak to Andrew Mensell, the host of the Cricket Unfiltered podcast in Australia, joins us live now. Morning or afternoon to you, Andrew. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's a pleasure. So what about this news, then, that we've learned today? We knew he was stepping down as captain. Some big developments over the past recent few hours, though.
Yes, a very big shock that Tim Paine has decided to take an indefinite break from cricket, and it's implicit that this will probably be the end of his cricket career. He's, mid-30s and probably only had 1 or 2 summers left in him, but this should be the end. And it is a surprise. He was due to play for Tasmania today, Australian time, with a view to try and get back in that Ashes squad for the first test and make the starting 11. But unfortunately, as you read out, his manager's concerned about his mental health and his family's mental health, and he'll be taking a break. The new Australian Test captain, Pat Cummins, spoke to the media not so long ago, and he said that Paine spoke to him, and Paine didn't want to be a distraction for the team going into the Ashes, and that sort of plays into his thinking behind taking a break as well.
So how shell-shocked will Australia's Ashes squad be at these developments, and the Australian public in general?
Look, it's been a shocking week for Australian cricket, no doubt. A week ago, we heard the news that Tim Paine was standing down as Australian skipper, and since then it's been headlines every day about the new leadership group and the legacy that Tim Paine has left. So it's thrown the team into a little bit of disarray. But, they've appointed the new skipper, Pat Cummins, and they've appointed Steve Smith as vice captain. So, in a sense, a new era begins at the Gabba in the Ashes. We have Pat Cummins, who's very well liked, very well respected, and a wonderful player. And it is a new era when we take on Joe Root's team.
So I think it's worth, Andrew, just taking us back through what's actually happened here, because Paine was exonerated over all of the allegations, wasn't he? So what actually happened?
Yeah, so in 2017, actually, ironically, the day he was supposed to make his return to the Test side, the morning of the first Ashes Test in 2017, he sent explicit messages to an employee, Cricket Tasmania. Then a year later, in 2018, this employee complained about those messages and an investigation was undertaken. Paine was cleared of all wrongdoing and there were no breaches. But then a week ago, and apparently this story has been floating around in the media for a couple of years, but finally someone took the plunge and published the story last week, and then Tim Paine resigned following that. So he wasn't found guilty of any breaches, but Tim Paine said it was conduct unbecoming of an Australian skipper. And the fact that the investigation was covered up at the time obviously means when it comes out, it's going to be more powerful.
It's interesting that his agent mentioned his wife as well. This is obviously not just a personal decision to him, but for the entire family.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be heartbreaking to have your personal marital affairs being broadcast on the front and back pages of all the papers. And I think, this has just come at the end of a very tough week for Tim Paine and his family. There is a feeling among the Australian Cricketers Association and Cricket Tasmania that Tim Paine's sort of been hung out to dry. in the last week by Cricket Australia. So there's a lot sort of moving parts at the moment, and I think this is the best thing for Tim Paine to step away. He didn't have much of a cricket career left. There would have been a lot of speculation if he turned up at the Gabba, and there would have been a lot of songs from the Barmy Army and etc. So perhaps this is the best thing for him and his family.
What do you think that this will do to his legacy, Andrew? Is this going to be the thing that people remember him for?
Unfortunately, I think it certainly taints his legacy. He's gone out in, not very nice circumstances, but it must be said he did a fantastic job as leader when he was captain. He was a real inspiration to his team. He obviously retained the Ashes on the 2019 Ashes tour, and that will be his greatest achievement. But certainly this taints his legacy, and I think some people will look at him now through a little bit of a different lens.
So what do you make of Pat Cummins, his replacement? Steve Smith as well, back in a leadership role for the first time since, 2018, when he stepped down over the ball tampering thing. Gave his own very teary press conference himself as well.
Yeah, it's only when the BBC rings when Australian captains resigning tears. But look,
well, there's been quite a few recently, to be honest. That's why we've been speaking to you so much, Andrew.
Exactly, anytime. I think this is actually great for the Australian team, and I actually think it maybe increases our chances in the Ashes a bit because, as I said, Cummins is well liked. He specifically asked for Smith to be his vice captain because of Smith's tactical acumen. So you've got now a great leader with a vice captain who is very good tactically, and the new era begins. We won't have any speculation now throughout the summer. Will this be Payne's last series as captain? Will he retire? So I think this sets up Australia nicely for the first test, and now there'll be a bit of a battle between the wicket keepers to who can get that coveted spot in the Aussie team. You have Yorkshire-born Josh Inglis, who may front up in the first test, or Alex Carey as the two chief contenders.
And then finally, regarding Tim Paine, you said at the start this is the last that we'll see him play. Do you mean internationally, or do you think that he won't go back to his domestic club of Tasmanian Tigers either?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him play much cricket at all. Maybe he'll find a couple of lucrative T20 contracts somewhere, but he hasn't played much for Tasmania. He wasn't even playing for them when he was picked for the Aussie side. So, yeah, this might be it for him. The next time you might see him might be in the commentary box or something.
You know that you can't use this for when we beat you in the Ashes, though, as an excuse, right, Andrew?
I won't.
I need to get you on record now as saying that this isn't going to affect your performance in the Ashes.
No, I actually think it'll mean we do better. I had questions over Payne's tactics on the field, and I think those questions go away now, and I expect it to be a dominant Australian performance.
A dominant performance? Are we talking whitewash here? Come on, give us let's put you right on the spot then, and let's record this. Let's record this, and then we'll play it back to you when we prove you to be totally wrong. But what are you going for, Andrew?
I'm going for something like 3-1 Australia, maybe 3-2 Australia. I do think England will be more competitive than people are giving them credit for, but I expect Australia on our home soil to win the series.
Okay, we recorded that? Okay, that's recorded. We'll play that back to you in a couple of months. Andrew, nice to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Johnny.
Take care now. That's Andrew Mensell there, host of the Cricket Unfiltered podcast in Australia.